Hello? 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 You alright?
Hi, how are you?
Hello everybody, it's Charlie and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new. Today I'm going to be explaining about dental CPD, how it works, what you need to do. I will happily answer any questions that you guys have if you just pop them in the comment box below. Now before I start, I just want to say I'm not the best at CPD, like the personal development plan. I still don't really get it. It's a fairly recent thing in dentistry. So I didn't learn about the PDP in college because it was completely different. There was no such thing as a PDP. So if you guys have questions about that, I'm probably not the best person to ask because I'm only learning about it now. It's not something that I've done. It's something that I am in progress of working towards. And I don't know, my manager kind of really helps out with stuff like this. Thank goodness that she's around because I would suck without her. Yeah, any questions you guys have about the PDP, I'm not the best person to ask, but I will try and explain it as best as possible in this video. Anyway, if you would like to know more about the dental CPD and what you need to be doing after you've qualified, then just keep watching. So CPD, or continued professional development, is something that every dental professional will have to do. And what this basically means is that we have to do extra training outside of our work, and you have to put in a certain amount of hours over the course of 5 years. To start your CPD, you definitely want to get yourself a big ring binder, so something like this. It looks massive. Trust me, you're going to need it because all your certificates and everything like that has got to go in here. So I'd recommend getting one of the big ring binder ones, and then you can kind of separate it into categories, which I'll talk you through in a second. So I'm going to talk you through a little bit about how dental CPD used to work versus how it kind of works now. Like I said, there have been some changes which I'm still trying to get used to. So the one thing that hasn't changed is that it's still on a 5-year cycle. So what that means is, say you qualify in June of 2021, your CPD won't then start until the following year. And that's because the CPD year runs from the beginning of August to the end of July. So obviously if you don't qualify till June, you're not going to be able to do anything between June and July. You have 5 years in which to complete. It used to be 50 hours verifiable and 150 hours of non-verifiable. Now they've changed it to scrapping the non-verifiable and doing 50 hours verifiable and a personal development plan. So I'm going to talk you through verifiable, non-verifiable and what a PDP is. So verifiable is things that you get certificates for and training, so extra training outside of work. So you can go about this training different ways. You can either do it in-house, where your employer will probably get somebody in to come and train everybody as a group, and then that would account for a certain amount of hours CPD, or you can do it on programs like Isofarm, which I do most of my CPD through because you can do different courses. Now with Isofarm you can either pay per course, so say there was one on impression taking and you were happy to pay the £6 just for that one, great, or you can pay £36 for the entire year, which is what I do, and it's what most other people do because then you get everything included within that £36. So it works out a lot cheaper to pay that per year than what it would to pay per course. Again, each of these courses account for a certain amount of time in your verifiable CPD. So you have to complete 50 hours over 5 years. I break that down to 10 hours a year. I really hope this is all making sense so far and the maths is all correct with it and you actually understand what I'm saying. Now with Isofarm, what you actually have to do is read kind of a presentation, and then you're going to get questioned on that presentation. So it's quite a long bit of reading, I will admit, and you have to get, I think it's about 80% correct to pass. If you don't pass, you just do it again, and if you do pass then you'll be given a certificate to download, and that will account for a certain amount of hours. So I will show you some of those certificates as an example in just a second. But moving on now from verifiable, because I think I've managed to explain that. So non-verifiable, which they have now scrapped, would be things like reading newspaper articles, watching online videos, doing any other kind of online tests that don't account for anything. So just things like that, and I will show you a few examples of what I did for that. Now instead of the non-verifiable, they've got something called a PDP, which is your professional development plan. Now your professional development plan basically shows what you want to achieve throughout your cycle of the CPD. Like I said, I still don't really completely understand this. We've basically done ours as a table which kind of shows the course subjects, because with your CPD you have to do mandatory subjects, which are things like medical emergencies, radiography, and you can find these all on the GDC website as well, so don't worry about having to remember it. It's all on the GDC website. So you have to kind of put in your PDP, your core subjects, your mandatory subjects, what you've done, and basically what you want to achieve throughout the 5-year cycle. I know on Isofarm, after you've completed it, got your certificate, you can then fill out a few boxes, which I will show you, and this will ask you some PDP type questions. So that's something really useful that Isofarm have now put in place to help with your CPD. That was PDP for you, which wasn't very well explained at all. I'm very, very sorry. This is, like I said, still really new to me. Moving on now, I'm going to show you a bit of my folder. So like I said, you want to be getting a big kind of ring binder like this to get all of your stuff into it. So what I've got at the beginning of my ring binder is my GDC certificate. That's something you always want handy in your CPD folder, so you know where it is, it's kept safe. And then what I've done is I've split my folder into different categories. I've split it so you can see the years. So this would have been August of 2017 to the end of July 2018. Back then it was verifiable, non-verifiable. So I've got my verifiable, and then if I skip through, I've then gone on to non-verifiable. After the non-verifiable stuff, and I will show you all of this in just a second, it moves on to a different year. This would have been August 2018 to the end of July 2019, and so on and so on. So that's how I've categorized my folder, and that's just a really easy way to keep track of it. Sometimes you may be asked to submit your folder, so again, that's just a really easy way for them to look through and know exactly what year they're on. Now what you will also need to do, which is very, very highly recommended, I'm not sure if it's absolutely mandatory. I would have said you do need to do this, but I'm not 100% sure on if you absolutely have to. But you should be creating a table, so something like this, to show how many hours that you've done from your CPD. I've just created this table, and you can find templates on the GDC website. So basically what you want to have is the date, the title of the activity, so basically what course you're doing, the provider, so that would mean either if it was in-house training or it was on a software, and then you want to say how many hours of CPD that was worth. Just for example, on the 10th of October 2017, I did decontamination of dental instruments on Isofarm, and that was worth 1 hour of CPD. So this is my certificate for that. It just says your GDC number, how many completed minutes of CPD it was, so 60 minutes, so an hour. It says the aims, the objectives, and your learning outcomes. That's a little certificate, you just need to print it out, and that is your proof of CPD. Now obviously I also did this for my non-verifiable stuff, so I'll quickly show you that, even though it's kind of irrelevant now, but it might just be handy to see how we used to do it. Now I actually have 2 pages worth of non-verifiable, because you had to do 150 hours compared to 50 hours verifiable. So I actually did 30 hours in my first year, which obviously now means nothing, so you don't have to do it anymore. But again, this was the same, so date, title of activity, provider, and hours. So it would be things, for example, on the 21st of November 2017, I read a news article by South Coast Dental, and that took me half an hour to read that article. Then all I did was just, I mean, this is quite a few pages, it's like 3 or 4 pages of article in here, but I would just print off the article so that they could see exactly, you know, the stuff that I read to prove that you had done that. So your folder is more or less a case of telling them what you've done and then proving it. And again, if I just quickly show you, so this was obviously last year, I've then got my table of my CPD from last year, and I always put that at the beginning of the year so that they can see exactly how many hours I've done, and then they can obviously find all the relevant certificates for that. Now I'm going to show you here an example of a certificate which I recently did. This was on the 19th of March 2020, so only a few weeks ago, and I've got my Isofarm certificate, and this was actually one of the mandatory categories, which was Legionella. Like I said before, Isofarm now asks you some questions at the end so you can put this towards your PDP, and this is basically your reflective learning. So the questions that it will ask you at the end of every course is, what did you learn from this course? So clues in the title, what did you learn from the course? How will you apply this course to your profession? Why that specific course was relevant to your profession and how you're now going to apply it to your work if you can. How will you maintain this knowledge in the future? Basically what I normally write for that is that I'm going to regularly do CPD courses on this particular subject so I can keep my knowledge up to date. And the last question it asks is, how will you continue to develop in this area? So I would normally write, I will continue to do what I already do with the added element of whatever I've learned in the course. So that's definitely a really good way to kind of get your PDP started, is by doing these questions at the end of every isofarm test that you do, and it will definitely help you keep track of exactly what you kind of need to do on your PDP. So obviously that's not all the certificates in my folder. It is pretty much filled up with stuff, but I'm not going to go into every single one because that would just be really, really boring. Now what you want to do when you're doing CPD is not do it all on one day. I know that some people would think, well, why can't I just pick the 17th of January and do all my CPD on that day? That's not really going to work because you're not maintaining any knowledge throughout the year. What the point of CPD is to make sure that everybody is keeping up with things that are changing. So many things change from year to year. We have to make sure as dental professionals that we are keeping up with the things that are changing, and we're also keeping up to date with our knowledge. Anyway, I think that pretty much covers all I need to talk about CPD. Like I said though, if you guys have any questions on it, just let me know. I know that when I was doing training, I kind of freaked out with the idea of CPD. I was like, I don't get it. What is it? I don't understand it. Anything about verifiable CPD or the isofarm courses or anything like that, I'm more than happy to try and answer all of those questions for you, because like I said, I know that that was something I really struggled with. I just couldn't get to grips with it. Now I've been doing it for a couple of years. I do understand it. It makes sense to me. So hopefully I can explain it in a way which makes sense to you. Anyway, that's pretty much it for this video today. I really hope you guys enjoyed it and it was helpful to you. If you did, then please give this video a thumbs up, click that subscribe button down below, and then click the little bell next to it so you get notified when I next upload, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!